kind of the next big topic that people always ask us about, and I try to give them the best answers that I have as a gay cisgender man, but obviously you have different experiences than I do, and you have a lot more research in this than I do, about coming out. So we'll get into coming out advice in just a moment in the interview, but before coming out, how do you know that you're trans before you come out to anyone as such? Because I know, at least in my experience as a gay man, I wanted to know for sure I was gay before I told anyone that.
Yes.
So if people are questioning their gender and they're saying, I think I'm this, but I'm not 100% yet, I don't know if I want to tell that first person, how can they be sure? And is it okay to tell someone before you're 100% sure?
Wow. Hey, that I love this question too, because I always quote this writer who says, you really have to come out to yourself first before you can come out to anybody else. It's finding that confidence in yourself that now you're sure. For me, again, in my own personal experience, it was years of playing with my mother's makeup kit, or probably dabbling in the pretty dress that she had hanging in the closet, or something like this. And you find yourself being more and more drawn into the world that you choose. For me, I was loving every minute of it, and along the way learning how to do a little makeup, apply the lipstick in a proper manner, or this finding your right shade, whatever. It's the time you invest into it. When you're good and ready, you will come out to yourself first and going, I like what I see in the mirror now. It's like, this is who I am. Just being confident in yourself first. And then coming out to the rest of the world, little by little in increments, start with your closest confidant, your friend, test the waters, Some people come out, in increments. Other people just dive in head first. It's completely your choice, but, be careful, that that you're going to affect people in many different ways. So you'll have different reactions along the way. So.
I mean, with coming out, we certainly tell people to test the waters, make sure it's safe to do so first, and we'll get into like the transphobia and stuff like that a little bit later, in a whole section just for that. But with it, we got this question I think pertains a lot to what you just said about trying on dresses and just feeling like that's right for you, and with it. There are some people that you come out to that might call you a tomboy or a femboy, and sort of look at you as that for a while until you just tell them, this is my gender. It's not just how I express myself. I don't just like dresses.
Yes.
And how do you deal with that?
Well, if anybody, like my brothers, for instance, if they ever said anything off color, not particularly pertaining to me, but perhaps something that might have been a slur, a homophobic comment, I would step up right away and pretty much tell them how insensitive and ugly that was, without really coming out to them and saying, hey, now you're barking up my tree. It's like, back off. But putting those little expressions out there, it's like, oh, come on, don't say that, or whatever, to let them kind of maybe plant that little seed in their mind too, that, hey, well, what's going on here, or that little response. So planting seeds along the way and letting them grow and harvesting them as they come up, deal with it, in the moment. That's all I've ever done my whole life was, I step forward. I just do what I feel is the right thing for me, and I do it unapologetically. So it's like, I gave you all, the hints that I could without really coming out and blurting it out. It's like, hey, I'm trans, guys, get it. Yeah, for me, growing up in the 70s, it's more of a disadvantage because we really had no resources to really look at besides the library, which, I might find a book on Renee Richards or Christina Jorgensen. That was it, and I could say that, and reading their stories, it's like, well, that really doesn't speak to me. I need, a little bit more. So, yeah.
So a lot of trans people, when they come out, they come out as homosexual first, before coming out they're because of who they're attracted to, and when in fact they're straight, they're just living in the wrong body for that moment. And for others, they might come out later as also homosexual and trans, just like yourself. But we know a lot of the community comes out as homosexual first, to almost test the waters in that way. So what's your opinion on this? And do you have any advice for someone who feels the need to come out twice like this? Is it any less believable the second time they have to come out?
Oh, I'm going to address your last question first. Again, as I said earlier, it is acceptable to come out twice, and there should be some reasonable expectation, as life again is a journey with many twists and turns, and you discover yourself as you go along. We all have our storyline. We all have the path we're taking. We all have the antagonist, the protagonist, in your story. So it may not be that that's the ending that you want. You feel it, you go in that other direction, and you present to the world, as such. It's like, it is evolving. It really truly is. And I do say to, people in my family, like, look, I have evolved. I've not stayed the same. And it is a process of evolution. As I also heard said, one isn't born a woman, one becomes a woman.
So one of our students asked, and I think it's important for especially the younger audience that we have, how do you express your gender identity without outing yourself as trans?
Trying my hardest not to become a caricature, or kind of overcompensating femininity, or in some people's cases, not overcompensating in masculinity, but finding that balance. That's why I spent so many years finding Michaela, going out into the world, and step by step, I went through my phases of having the ugly wig and maybe wearing, spiked stilettos that I had no woman has the right to ever, walk around in. But we test these waters, so we evolve. We become ourselves. But it's a test to yourself. For me in particular, every time I looked in that mirror after I got done doing, makeup, put that wig on and buying that perfect wig so it gives you that perfect look. It's always it is an evolving thing, and you're always experimenting, seeing what works, and just becoming comfortable with your appearance. It was always a test for me. It's like, the look is on now. Okay, I could take it out into the world, and maybe I could, fly under that radar. And yeah, so it's a process.
But you definitely think there are ways that you can hide that from others, but still somewhat feel a little bit of yourself?
Yes, there are ways of expressing, and it depends on who you're around. For me, it's like being a chameleon. If I'm with a macho guy, I don't feel comfortable, exposing myself. Well, I'm gonna, I'm going to be the chameleon. I'm going to be that, that guy for you. But what I most shot for was, meeting people who I most identified with, and that would be women. Women, they are more accepting, more willing to hear my story and say, wow, I would love to know more about that. Why don't you tell me? So that helps to bolster your confidence in yourself. It's like, wow, if my story, resonates with this, cisgendered woman, I could learn from them, and they could learn from me. So helping each other out, and again, evolving along the way.
All right. So before coming out, we see trans youth, especially, experiencing higher rates of depression, fits of rage to others who are cisgender because they were born in the correct bodies. And 52% of them, according to the Trevor Project, have thought about suicide in their lives because they're trans and they're not in the right bodies. So how do you suggest to kids to how to cope with being in the closet, and what are some suggestions you have for them to try to overcome that period of time in their lives?
Okay, yeah, great question. I would say, have patience and faith in yourself. The confidence, that you're going to build is a process. It's like, we don't come out of the womb, all of a sudden confident and walking the walk. Know that you are going to have your protagonists along the way. I don't envy today's generations. As back in the day, there's always bullying, in the schoolyard, bullying or whatnot, but it's not like today or in the past 20 years, whereas people hide behind the keyboard and think that they can say anything to you, and it can be very hurtful. Very hurtful. Always be mindful that you will have a protagonist out there, but you'll have plenty of antagonists, I should say. You'll have your antagonists out there along the way, but you also have your protagonists. Find those people and lean on them. If they're any friend, they will help you through your issues. Find the advocates in school. There's a teacher on that staff. I guarantee you, at least one of them is going to be empathetic with you, or may even be family. Somebody in the LGBTQ spectrum. But, you want to listen to those positive influences in your life and try to, walk away from trouble when it presents itself. You're not obligated to teach anybody anything. I just happen to like to do that, and deal with the fallout, afterwards. Keep a level head. Don't get too emotional. If somebody doesn't understand where you are on the gender spectrum, time will heal everything. We all mature. Our thoughts, our emotions mature, blossom, evolve. So I would say be patient in your transition. Again, that's why they call it a journey, folks. It's a process. It's going to, roll out in front of you, and you're going to have to deal with those people along the way.
Still not enough rainbows? Click here to see more weekly episodes of Powered by Rainbows, Semester 4, only on MHP TV.